It's match day in the FA Cup fourth round as Arsenal enter the competition looking to make it to the fifth round for the first time since they won it back in 2020. The question is, can they do it or will the mighty Wigan Athletic stop them? This is today's Arsenal News Show. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys and girls for another episode of what is indeed the Arsenal News Show. Johnny every single morning at 8 a.m. UK time. Thank you so much as always for joining me and making this a part of your morning routines. It is greatly appreciated. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much as always for tuning in and making this, as I say, part of your daily experience and joining us every morning. Thank you for yesterday. Yesterday's show was pretty fun, was it not? If you missed yesterday's show, you missed a hell of an episode. You really did. It was a lot of football in chat, of course, as usual, but then a lot of just tangents and randomness, which we all do appreciate now and again, especially after we didn't have the most excitable result in midweek. Sometimes it's good to be able to laugh about other things, and we certainly did that. So thank you all for being part of that as well. Good morning to those joining us live in the chat box. We've got Mohammed and Matt G. We've got Paul, Glenn, John, Knowledge, Maximius. We've got Trader Mike and Zoom and Mandy. We've got Anko and Ken and Ronald. Good morning to you. To Zoom, to Brad, to Tom. Good morning to you all. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. And as usual, making this a part, as we say, of your morning routines. I hope that you've had a really good week. You're ready for match day. If you're heading to the game today, I know there's probably a few people heading to their game maybe for the first time. Maybe they're taking some of the youngsters with them as well for the first time. These FA Cup and League Cup early rounds often offer the opportunity to give youngsters the first chance that they have ever had to go and see the Emirates and see the players. And so if that is the case for you, I do wish you all the best and hope you have an absolutely fantastic time. It's a special moment, and we only get to do it once, your first game. So don't forget the experience, and I hope that it is a good one for you and yours as well. Right, let's make sure. And yes, as Paul says, don't forget to hit a like. If you could drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here with those notifications turned on so you never miss a show. That'd be greatly appreciated. Let's jump into today's stories, and we start by rounding up all of yesterday's action in the FA Cup, and in particular, looking at some of the decision-making by the wonderful group of referees that just so brilliantly officiate our great sport in this country. I don't know if you watched the Newcastle Aston Villa game yesterday, but it was a great, I think, experiment in what happens when you don't have VAR these days. I have been saying for a very long time that referees these days do not make decisions frequently and as brave as they should, because they just lean on and lean back on the existence of VAR. The problem with VAR is that it's run by the same people that make consistent errors, consistent mistakes, and are horrendously inconsistent at the top level. And considering that what is on the line, what is at stake for these multi-million, billion-pound clubs, the fact that these are the group of officials that we have in this league always makes me just want to rip your hair out sometimes. And Chris Kavanagh, I thought, in Newcastle's win, and I have to say, thank goodness Newcastle got that win because they deserved it, and they should have been awarded a penalty. They shouldn't have conceded a goal. It was just one of the worst officiating displays I think anyone has ever seen from Chris Kavanagh in that game. And the lack of VAR, again, highlighting and exposing the level that is required. And when people say, do you like VAR? Do you want VAR? I'm like, yes, I do like VAR. I just don't like who's running it. And this is a perfect example of that, because if you don't have VAR, this is the level of incompetence that, unfortunately, you can have in this game. And it's just a consistent, horrible state of affairs that is the officiating in this country. But yes, going through the results from yesterday's games, West Ham narrowly going through in extra time at Burton after going down to 10 men. Two big chances for Burton that they definitely should have scored. Norwich City 3-1 winners over West Bromwich Albion. Southampton winning 2-1 at home to Leicester. That's a win over Leicester in 2 times in the space of a week. Burnley out of the cup against lower league Mansfield Town, showing that, yes, you have to be careful. And I would say also, I don't know if Burnley would have wanted to be in the FA Cup. And I was sitting there and thinking about this yesterday as the scores were coming in. If you are a team that's kind of fighting for your place in the Premier League, like Burnley are, you have to sit there and think, if you've got the opportunity to go out of this competition, because you're not going to win it, are you? You're not going to win the FA Cup. The money that each round of the FA Cup brings to a lower end of the table Premier League club is next to nothing. If you are Burnley, do you really want to be in the FA Cup and getting through to the fifth round and then the quarterfinals and whatever? Because the reality is that the more games that you've got to play, the harder your challenge to stay in the top flight will be. Is there any benefit really to them being in it, or any team that is further down the table? It made me think, is it a surprise to have seen them go out? Because if you watch the game, yes, they weren't 1-0 up in this game, but Mansfield were by far the better team. They battered them, and it just didn't really feel like Burnley even wanted to be in it. So really, I think, eye-opening in terms of kind of the state of play for some of these clubs in this competition. Manchester City not winning as comfortably as maybe people would have thought against lower league Salford City. 2-0 winners there. Required a late Mark Guehi goal to make it 2-0. Aston Villa, as I mentioned, losing 3-1 at home to Newcastle. They're out of the FA Cup, another big team out of the competition. Liverpool winning comfortably against Brighton, and then Arne Slot came out and put more digs against Arsenal and others for set pieces, despite the fact that Liverpool have scored more set piece goals in the Champions League than any other club this season. Birmingham City take on Leeds United in the early kickoff today. Is Grimsby Town against Wolves at 1:30. Stoke City against Fulham at 2 o'clock. The other 2 o'clock kickoff is Oxford against Sunderland. And then at 4:30, of course, is Arsenal taking on Wigan at the Emirates. Macclesfield Town take on Brentford tomorrow. And then a postponed game up until the 3rd of March is Port Vale against Bristol City. So that's all of your scores from the FA Cup 4th round and fixtures to come so far. Now, Arsenal released their training images yesterday onto the club website, and not spotted amongst them was Martin Odegaard. Odegaard not seen at all in the images released by the club, and he has been speaking. Odegaard, I think he's put it in his program notes for today ahead of the game against Wigan. And in today's program, he provided a little bit of insight into the injury. He said and wrote, hopefully it's not too bad. We'll see how it goes in the build up to today's game and over the next few days. I'd be shocked if he's involved today. I really would. I tried to clear the ball as it came down, but instead kicked into a player a bit and ended up overstretching my leg, which pinched the knee. I was able to carry on, but on Friday morning, it was very sore. So I was worried, of course, but thankfully, it looks like it's not too bad. So positive news, but also I think absolutely, hammers down the point that we absolutely should have been taking him off when he got injured, because it clearly is an injury. He got injured against Brentford. He should have been taken off. He was brilliant up until the goal was scored, of course, and he's the reason why Arsenal even took the lead, by the way, in which he changed the game at coming on at half-time. But as soon as he got injured, he should have been taken off because he offered absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing after they scored. He effectively hid almost because of the injury and just wasn't able to apply himself as we would usually expect from him. So, yeah, hopefully he is going to be okay and back for that game against Wolves, because, of course, we are without Havertz right now, and I think he's a better option to start than Eberechi Eze, and I think he's providing more than Eberechi Eze is at the moment, so I'd rather he was starting, but it's frustrating that, again, he's just come back from injury, and this is yet another problem, a 5th of the season for Martin Odegaard for the club captain. So, yeah, let's hope that he's okay for Wednesday. The big positive news, though, of the day is that in those images of of course, of that round of pictures from training, the inclusion that we're all very excited by is the return of Max Dowman. Max Dowman back in training. Don't know if he's going to be available to play today. I hope so. Sincerely, I hope he can be in the squad and maybe get some minutes from the bench today. It'd be great to see him back because we need all the attacking help that we can get at the moment. But yes, Max Dowman back available, it seems, for training. Whether he's available for games is another thing, but he is there and he is training, and that is obviously a very good thing, having missed a lot recently because of an ankle injury he suffered during a friendly game at the end of last year, which, of course, saw Gabriel Jesus take his place in the UEFA Champions League squad. But really good news to see him back with the group. Right, let's look a little bit closer at this game against Wigan later on today in our little mini preview. Right, this is part 2 of today's show. We're going to be jumping into our predictions, our lineup, and what we would like to see, and of course, what you think the scoreline is going to be. I've said that I don't think anyone that should be playing on Wednesday against Wolves should be starting this game, and that's why I've gone with this team. Any player you see on this pitch is not going to be in my starting 11 for the game against Wolves on Wednesday. Kepa, of course, starts in goal. Marley Salmon makes his first start for me. And hopefully for Arsenal today, at right back, Ben White comes in at right-sided centre-half. Mosquera at left-sided centre-half. Calafiori at left back. Norgard playing in the defensive midfield role. Eze and Lewis Skelly as the two more attack-minded midfielders, with Madueke, Jesus, and Martinelli, the front three. It means that on Wednesday, you can rest. For Wednesday, you can rest Breyer, you can rest Timber, you can rest Saliba, who's not 100% fit and well. He was involved in the training images, which is good. I think he's fit. He's just not 100% well, it seems. Gabriel gets a rest. Hincapié gets a rest. Zubamendi gets a rest. Rice gets a rest. Odegaard gets a rest. Saka gets a rest. Gyökeres gets a rest. Trossard gets a rest. So we are resting everybody. And I think Calafiori and Hincapié is a bit of a toss-up, but I think Hincapié has been in better form recently than Calafiori. So that's why I think, and also Calafiori is kind of coming back from injury, so he needs to build up that level of fitness. So there's that. I would bring Saka on later on in the game to get like 20 minutes, because I think, again, he needs to find some rhythm. He needs to find some fitness. He needs to find some match sharpness. So yes, absolutely. I think Saka will get some minutes, and hopefully Dowman as well. Hopefully Dowman can get some opportunities in this game a little bit later on, and maybe we'll see some other youngsters involved at other points in the game as well. So yes, that's what I'm going for. But what scoreline do you think it's going to be today? Bearing in mind, of course, it's a highly changed team, but Wigan currently sitting 22nd in League One right now. It's not looking pretty for their hopes of staying up. They're not in a particularly great position in that kind of area that they are right now. I think, they still could easily stay up. There's only 3 points separating 23rd and 17th right now in League One. But it's not ideal for Wigan Athletic right now, and really they don't need to be going further in the FA Cup either. It's a strange competition for teams when they're continuously fighting, when they get more games added to their schedule. Tom says 4-1 to the Arsenal. Maria says 3-0. Temi's going for a shock 3-0 Wigan win. Tyrell says 4-0. Z says 3-0. John says 2-0. Diane says 2-0. Nixie says 4-1. Anko says 5-1. Maximia says 3-0. Alex says 2-1. Daya says 10-0. Mr. Knowledge says 3-0, hopefully, in this game. Ian says we need to win the game 3-0. Need Havertz for Wolves. Havertz, I don't think is going to be available for either of those two games, mate. So sorry about that. Dennis says 4-0. Jim says 4-0. Jonah says 9-0. Zoom says 3-0. Daryl says 10-9 after penalties. I don't think. Do you get penalties? I think does it go to I don't know if replays are even a thing anymore. I think just extra time, isn't it? Extra time and pens. Franklin Goodwin says 3-0. Rancid says 2. And Kanarin says 7-0 to the Arsenal as well. A lot of positivity, a lot of big scores. I think a lot of you are going in too hard. You see Man City just narrowly beating Salford yesterday. There's no guarantees you get huge wins, but you never know. It might happen. And we can hope that Arsenal can get the job done, as you need to get the job done when it comes to keeping yourself safe and secure when you're surfing the internet. And you can go to nordvpn.com/Gooner and get yourself a significant discount off a 1 or a 2 year plan to make sure that you are staying safe while surfing the net, particularly if you're on a public Wi-Fi service, perhaps in a hotel, cafe, train station, bus, all these different things that you, of course, could use a public Wi-Fi service on. You need to give yourself that extra layer of protection to keep your data safe. And a VPN is the way to do that. And if you go to nordvpn.com/Gooner, you can get yourself that significant discount off a 1 or a 2 year plan. And there's a 30-day money-back guarantee if you're not happy with the service for whatever reason either. I'll say that one more time. nordvpn.com/Gooner. Right, let's go to part 3. Your questions, thoughts, queries, theories, and more right after this. Right, this is part 2 of today's show. 3, sorry, I should say, where we go into the chat. Thank you so much, always, for tuning in. Really appreciate your time. We gained a lot of new subs yesterday, which I was really happy about after the drama. And yeah, I did really enjoy yesterday's show. There was a lot of perspective, a lot of grounding, a lot of objective chat, which I enjoyed. So thank you so much for your contributions that you made during the show. Brilliant stuff. Let's tackle some of these thoughts. Ronald says, was not signing Lookman a bit of a miss? He's a great goal-scoring forward. I mean, you're looking at the likes of Semenyo, of course, and seeing what he's doing. But Lookman at Atletico Madrid now is doing really, really well as well. You know, scoring against Barcelona the other day. He's had a great start to life, hasn't he, since that move to Atletico Madrid. A goal and an assist in that 4-0 win and a goal and assist in that first game he played in La Liga against Real Betis. 9 goals in 2 games for Atletico, looking very, very good at the moment. That was in the Copa del Rey, I should say, rather than in the La Liga. But yeah, looking very good. In La Liga, he's only played 1 game so far, and that was ironically in a 1-0 defeat to Real Betis. But it's easy, isn't it? It's easy for us to sit there and say, you know, a player's moved, they're doing quite well. Was it a mistake not to do that? But, you know, we weren't really looking for those types of signs. We weren't really looking for signings in January. We made 8 signings in the summer, and we didn't know, of course, that Mikel Merino or Havertz or Odegaard would get those injuries as quickly as they did after the window closed. So, yeah. Well, Mikel Merino, of course, got injured like in the day before the window closed, and it's very unlikely you're going to be able to replace him in those remaining hours. But, yeah, we don't tend to use the January window. It's just not something that Arsenal use at all. But you're seeing the benefit that it can have for a team like Manchester City. Line-Sturken says, we won't play the team. I expect changes. There won't be that man and no chance that he plays Miles in a left 8. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I do tend to agree, but we'll see. Pinkle says, should these games be treated as an opportunity to try something new? Maybe try some free-flowing attacking football. If we're going to allow it, we'll hope to see a lot more attacking, dominant football from Arsenal today. So I guess, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. John says, Tom, do you think Arsenal win today? And what's your score? I think they do, yes. No, I'll go 3. I'll go 3-0 to the Arsenal today. Max says, question. Hi, Tom. Is the Gabby goal challenge still on? Well, Gabriel Magalhaes could score today. Gabriel Martinelli could score today. Gabriel Jesus could score today. We don't know. I don't know if Gabby Magalhaes will start, but maybe he will. Maybe the challenge is on today. We will have to see. Natalie says, when will the next round of the FA Cup be drawn? I think it's tomorrow night after the game that is on tomorrow evening. Dyer says, I thought Marley Salmon played for the under-21s. Will he be match ready for today's match? It's very true, actually. He was involved. That's a really good point. I didn't even consider that. He did start yesterday for the Arsenal Academy team. So I guess that's probably a big indication that he probably won't start, will he? I'm just going with what I would have wanted to see rather than what we will see. But you're right. He did start, I think, 2 days ago. It was 2 days ago and he played centre-half. So who knows? Maybe he can be involved or come off the bench and be on the bench. But yeah, a lot of those youngsters that we could see did play in that under-21s game on Friday. So yeah. Connor says, recall Winery. Can't recall Winery. There is no recall clause in the loan move. Salas says, do you think in attacking third, our fullback should stay wider to allow our wingers to tuck in and occupy the half space in the edge of the box and stay close to the Ocaras? I mean, Timber does stay very wide, to be fair. It's only on the left-hand side that Calafiori tends to cut in. And even then, Nkapie doesn't really invert. Nkapie stays pretty wide as well. Also, if you look at kind of the heat maps of our wingers, particularly Trossard, he often kind of pushes inside to the edge of the box all the time. I think it's a little bit of a misconception that this doesn't happen. And if you have a look at the heat maps of those players, you tend to see it very clearly that the likes of Timber stays quite wide. Yes, he can come inside, but no. And also, like, I always kind of balk at the idea of saying we should be doing this and we should be doing that when we're currently where we are. It's always a little bit, it feels almost a little bit inappropriate to start critiquing what we are or we aren't doing when we're looking what we are looking like. So there's always a little bit of that there. But I know what people are saying, but it seems to be working. Ronald says, with Strasbourg going into a blind trust, do you still think do you still like a multi-club model? Of course, it's how different clubs run those multi-club models. I think that from an Arsenal point of view, how we might run it compared to how a company like Chelsea would run it, you can't assume it's going to be the same, you know? So I think multi-club models are part of modern football these days. And if you're not in some way involved in a multi-club model, it puts you at something of a disadvantage. I absolutely understand and empathise with the clubs that become part of those multi-club models that do not benefit really in any way. And I've heard firsthand from members of staff at clubs who are involved at clubs within multi-club models myself when speaking to them. So I get it, but I do still think it's you're at a disadvantage if you're not part of one as a club like Arsenal. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at with that. Naya says, Tom, did Mourinho get injured during the Man United game? I feel like we missed a trick getting a midfielder in, especially with Arteta not fancying Norgard. Yes, it was. He was injured during the Man United game. So it was only kind of discovered slightly after that game how serious the injury actually was. But yes, that was the game that he got injured in. Dennis says, Tom, please take NSW's everyone tagging ability in the Discord away. Thanks, Tom. You're a gem. I'll be honest, NSW. I do notice that you tag everyone a lot. Like, let's chill out on the tagging. Chill out on the tagging. Notifying everybody. John says, apart from Dowman and Salmon, are there any other academy players who can make the team or bench today? Again, there's potential, but as was pointed out to us earlier on, like by Dyer, there is a number of players that were involved just 2 days ago in the under-21s game, so that might make it slightly challenging. Arthur says, conspiracy theorists believe yesterday's referees deliberately made shocking decisions so that people will stop criticising VAR and accept that they're better with it. What do you think? I think they're conspiracy theorists, and conspiracy theorists tend to not deserve too much credit. Vakan says, do you think our team has too many ball carriers that slows down the attack? Was watching clips of Xhaka yesterday and noticed that he tends to play first times into the final third. I've only seen Kai really do that. Again, I'm a little bit of a loss to kind of start critiquing the setup of the squad, considering where Arsenal are. When Xhaka was in the team doing what he was doing, we weren't winning leagues. We weren't in that position. So, yeah, again, I am reluctant to kind of be looking at it in that sense. I think that this season is more about how opposition teams are setting up against us. I also think it's about the mentality of this campaign. And once Arsenal hopefully win it, it will remove a lot of that extra pressure and you will hopefully see a very different, more freer Arsenal team. I certainly hope so. Charlie says, our players are letting the manager down. These games that we've dropped points, you always see a missed clear-cut opportunity from one or two players. I hope he's okay to move on some of these players in the summer. I think that there are players whose futures are not guaranteed beyond the summer, definitely. But it's not, you can't just absolve Arteta from any blame at all. Arteta is definitely responsible. But there is a level of responsibility the players have to take as well. As I've talked about, there are very few games where Arsenal haven't created a chance or multiple chances that they should have taken in games that we have dropped points. Nottingham Forest away is a great example of that. The Brentford game is an example of that. So, yeah, it's frustrating, but you can't just absolve Arteta from all blame. There are certainly moments where you can point the finger as well. Matthew says, is there any evidence that the 5-sub rule is leading to fewer goals in the last 20 minutes of matches as fatigued fullbacks and midfielders and those on bookings can be saved with multiple substitutions? I have absolutely no idea. You'd have to give me the data, Matthew. I don't have it to hand, nor would I be able to work it out on the fly. But it's an interesting theory and certainly one that I'm sure that someone will do some digging into. But I have no idea, Matthew. But I see where your theory is kind of coming from. Izzy says, Tom, I honestly struggle to see how we get enough points over the next 5 games to keep us ahead of City. Do you? Well, I mean, you say that, but like 2 weeks ago, City managed to blow a 2-0 lead against this Tottenham side. So if you're thinking that you're struggling to see how we get enough points, are you really seeing that they're going to get enough points to be able to do it either? So, I think it's just the internal doubt that exists within much of the fan base right now. And you just got to take each game as it comes. Helicopter says, well, refs are supposed to be better with VAR. It's the same refs who make those rubbish calls in the VAR room as well. Paul says, the officials at Villa were just terrible. Stevie Wonder would have seen more than they did. Natalie says, how many players can be rested or quadded in the squad? Do you mean? How many players can you have in your FA Cup squad? Is it 20 or is it more? maybe they're more young players. I think it's still you can have 9 subs. I don't think it's necessarily more than that. Jim says Charles said that Marino could be out for 5 months. Worst case scenario. Yes, it's 3 to 5 months is the prognosis. The hope is that he recovers well and that he could be running by the end of April. That would be the best case scenario. But if the recovery doesn't happen the way that we hope that it does, it could be longer than that and he misses the World Cup. So it's the hope is 3 months, but the worst case scenario could be 5 months. So it's like a range. It depends on how the body heals. It depends how rehab goes. It's why reporting on injuries is so difficult to do because there's so many variables involved in there. John says, one thing we know for sure today is that Eza starts. He needs to perform today and have impact. If he doesn't, the player's confidence gets lower and the belief in their role in the team will be questioned by all. I think Eza does need to start. He absolutely needs to have a big performance today. There's no real excuses for anybody not to have a good game today. Alex says, if we don't win the league this season, what reflections, evolutions do you think? As I say to all these questions, Alex, I don't really tackle those questions until the end of the season. The same as I don't tackle questions about bus parades and stuff. I'm not going to be discussing anything around that until that reality comes to the fore. Until that happens, there's no real point in talking about it because we just got to wait and see what happens to get us to that point, whatever that point is. Matt G says, Tom's calling out City. I love it. Call Pepper. Pepper fraud. I did love the questioning in the press conference the other day. I think, do you know what's so great about that? Is did you see all the miserable negative Nellies that are moaning about somebody asking an insightful question at a press conference? And we're going, oh, it was a bit me, weren't it? It was like, no, he's asking an insightful question. It really did just expose some people's personalities. I thought anyone moaning at that guy asking that tactical question, it was, bizarre, but very, very, very revealing, I thought. Paul says, is it possible that the Winery loan deal could be mutually terminated? No. Eddie says, I think we could see a similar control-obsessed game again, regardless of whether we win the title or not. Arteta is more concerned about what opponents could do to us than what we can do to them. If that was the case, though, Eddie, we wouldn't create as many chances as we can, and we wouldn't be missing, frustratingly, also as many chances as we can. He is more focused on us than he is on them. That is no doubt. And that's how you see Arsenal set up. And that's why we have the highest defensive line in the league on average. And that's why we go up against the lowest defensive line in the league, because the opponents are more obsessed about us than we are obsessed about them. We absolutely have to consider them. And that's why we have certain different weapons in our arsenal, no pun intended, to be able to cope with that. But no, Eddie, I don't agree with you there. Charlie says, I thought Guerre was cup-tied. No, that rule changed. He can't play in the League Cup final, but he can play in the FA Cup. Zoom says, OMG, it appears that I may have inadvertently blocked NSW. I wonder how long ago I did that. Look, I'll be honest, stop tagging everyone. Just stop tagging everyone. Sweated says, I feel like we as fans need to have blind positivity till the end of the season. Critics afterwards. I don't necessarily think we have to have blind positivity. I just think we need to worry about the worst case scenario if it ever happens, not like now. But if it happens, worry about it then. But I'm not going to worry about it now. Sam says, I would blame everyone, not the manager, but the players. We always become nervous in such games, winning titles. We need that winning mentality. But the thing is, you get that winning mentality from doing it. We need to just achieve it. And then once you've achieved it and you've got it, it gives you that confidence, that calmness, that belief that you can do it again. So yeah, it's important that we just get over the line this season for me. That is what it is about. Just make sure that we get over the line. And Malash says, recall Winery. We cannot drop off form and trophies by all means. We can't recall Winery. So again, people need to get it in their minds. You need to make sure that you are understanding that you can't recall him. You cannot recall Winery. So yeah. Stop saying that you can, because you can't. You absolutely cannot. Right. Any more before we wrap things up? Cal says, if Eza struggles today and is hooked again, how difficult will it be to make that situation better for the team? I do worry. I'm hoping that he has a great game. Yeah, me too. I really hope that he has a much improved performance. So fingers crossed that happens. Lachlan says, Tom, if you could go back in time and watch any player play live, who would it be? Liam Brady. It's always the easiest answer to that question. Liam Brady. Just because you're able to see like what is achievable on the surfaces that he played on. Absolutely unbelievable. So to see that with my own eyes would have been something quite special, I think. Andy says, in the summer, should the priority be finding a proper link up for Gyökeres? In the summer, the priority needs to be leveling up certain areas of the pitch. That for me is the left wing, and that for me is potentially the kind of midfield area as well, leveling up the options that we've got there. They're the areas I think we need to address the most in the summer is kind of the left-hand side and the midfield, probably replacing in some ways, upgrading upon the 8 that Marino has been, because I think Marino's become more of a attacking option than a box-to-box option for us as well. Last couple, most outstanding player for Arsenal so far. I mean, it's just difficult to look past Rice, isn't it, really, Bray? It's very hard to look past Rice. So, yeah, difficult. Very, very difficult. Ronald says, thoughts on Schalke's young 16-year-old? I don't know anything about him, Ronald. I'm sorry. As I said before, like my watching of European football has gone like that, really, since taking this role. It's all Arsenal for me these days. Martin says, Eddie, only City have scored more open play goals than us so far this season. Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. I just feel like the perception of Arsenal is very different to the reality. And Selassie says, would you be happy with a League Cup and FA Cup this season, or is the Prem paramount? The Prem is paramount. Yeah, you pick up 2 cups, the League Cup, the FA Cup. You can't be dismissive of that. But if Arsenal don't win the Premier League this season, then we are in. The reality of Arsenal not winning the league this season is just mad to me, which takes away some of the gloss of it. But there's just so much riding on the Premier League this season. So much riding on the Premier League this season. Right. Thank you so much for tuning in. We've balanced out yesterday's long episode. And if you didn't watch yesterday's show, I'd recommend going back and watching it, particularly the last 45, 50 minutes. It was entertaining. So make sure you go and give that a watch. I really appreciate your time, and I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day. If you're going to the game, enjoy it, and make sure you travel safe and be safe. Because, London is, London's so dangerous these days. You got to be safe. There might be tired people around. You got to watch out for those tired people. If you know, you know. Thank you so much for listening. Really appreciate all of you tuning in. And I will see you on the next one. Stay safe, stay well, stay happy and respectful. And as always, up the Arsenal.